The first night my dog tried to warn me, I almost opened a closet door that might have gotten me killed. When my grandparents passed away, my parents decided not to sell their old house. Instead, they handed me the keys and told me I could live there as long as I covered the taxes and monthly expenses. At first, it felt like freedom. No rules. No curfews. No one telling me what to do. But after a few weeks, the silence of that old house started to feel different. It felt like something was listening. To keep myself company, I adopted a 2-year-old German shepherd named Rocky. He was calm, gentle, and almost never barked. In fact, during the first few weeks I owned him, I could count on one hand how many times I heard him make a sound. That and Oppos. That's why what happened one night terrified me. Around 2 a.m., I was ripped out of sleep by violent barking echoing through the hallway. Not playful barking, not warning barking. It sounded frantic, desperate, the kind of barking that makes your blood run cold before you and Oppos were even fully awake. I stumbled out of bed and followed the noise. As my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw Rocky standing at the basement door. He was completely out of character. His teeth were bared. His fur stood up. He was clawing at the door while barking like he and Oppos de-cornered something, or something had cornered him. My stomach tightened instantly. Usually, whenever something weird happened, I and Oppos de-call my dad. But for the first time, I was completely alone. And whatever was behind that basement door was now my problem. Taking a deep breath, I slowly turned the handle. The second the door cracked open, Rocky shoved past me and charged downstairs. I flipped on the basement lights and followed. The barking stopped. Instantly. The silence was somehow worse. End quote. Rocky, end quote. I whispered. No response. I walked deeper into the basement and finally spotted him. He was frozen, tail tucked between his legs, staring at the far corner of the room. I followed his gaze. At first, I didn't in Oppos see anything. Then I noticed it. A closet door. Just standing there. Closed. Silent. Waiting. Rocky didn't and Oppos take his eyes off it. Neither did I. The longer I stared, the more I became convinced that someone was standing behind it. Watching. Listening. Waiting for me to make a mistake. Every horror movie I and Oppos ever seen screamed in my head. Open it. Don and Oppos open it. Open it. Don and Oppos open it. I barely knew Rocky at that point, but one thing was obvious. He wasn't Oppos willing to go near that door. And suddenly, neither was I. Instead, I grabbed his collar and backed away. As we headed upstairs, Rocky kept looking over his shoulder toward the closet, like he knew something was still there. Something that hadn't and Oppos moved. Yet, I slammed the basement door shut and locked myself in my bedroom before calling my dad. After explaining everything, he actually told me to grab a knife and go back down there. No chance. I wasn't Oppos doing that. Then, halfway through our conversation, something made my heart stop. The basement door. I could have sworn I heard open. I put the phone down and listened. For a moment, there was nothing. Then came the sound. Footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Walking through my house. Not downstairs. Not outside. Inside. Coming closer. Every muscle in my body locked up. I ran into my bedroom and whispered what I was hearing to my dad. His sleepy voice instantly changed. End quote. Hang up and call the police. Right now, end quote. I did. But by the time officers arrived, whoever had been inside was already gone. The basement window was wide open. Cash-Eye and Oppos left near the basement bar had disappeared. The intruder had broken in while I was home. And if Rocky hadn't and Oppos woken me up, I still wonder how long that person would and Oppos stayed hidden behind that closet door. Or what wouldn't Oppos happen if I and Oppos actually opened it? As terrifying as that experience was, it wasn't in Oppos the last strange thing that happened in a basement. Just 2 weeks ago, another night left me questioning whether I was truly alone. I and Oppos always been afraid of basements. Even at 18 years old, I still glance over my shoulder whenever I and Oppos am down there by myself. That cold Friday night, I was home alone playing Fortnite with friends in our basement. The biggest TV in the house was down there, so that in Oppos, that's where I spent most evenings. I had my headset on and was completely focused on the game. Then I heard it. Thunk. A dull impact somewhere behind me. Even through the loud game audio, I heard it clearly. I pulled off my headphones and looked around. The basement was huge, cluttered with old furniture, boxes, and shadows that seemed to stretch forever. Nothing moved. Nothing looked out of place. I convinced myself it was nothing. But a strange feeling settled into my chest. The kind of feeling that tells you someone else is in the room. Watching. Waiting. I took off my headset completely and kept playing. A few minutes later, another sound shattered the silence. Clang. Metal striking metal. The noise echoed through the basement like someone had dropped a steel pipe onto concrete. This time, there was no doubt. Something was down there with me. The moment I realized the sound wasn't Apo's, accidental. Every ounce of blood seemed to drain from my body. I immediately turned off my gaming system and sat frozen in silence. There was no way that metallic clanging noise had happened on its own. Someone, or something, had made it intentionally. The basement suddenly felt much darker than before. Much bigger, much emptier, and yet somehow, I felt less alone than ever. Every instinct was telling me to run upstairs, but curiosity and disbelief kept me rooted to the spot. Taking slow, cautious steps, I moved toward the back corner of the basement, where the large metal air vents were built into the wall. As I got closer, a terrible feeling settled deep in my stomach. I stopped a few feet away and stared. Nothing moved. Nothing happened. Then suddenly, a hand shot out from between the vent slats. I nearly collapsed from shock. The pale hand began motioning toward me, curling its fingers as if inviting me closer. Then a voice emerged from inside the darkness. A deep, raspy voice. A voice that didn't end Apo's sound right. And quote, "Come here," and quote, it whispered. And quote, "I need help," and quote. The words echoed through the basement. For a few seconds, I couldn't end Apo's move. I couldn't end Apo's breathe. I couldn't end Apo's even process what I was seeing. Then the hand gripped the metal vent and started shaking it violently. The entire vent rattled against the wall. Bang, 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 like whoever was inside was desperately trying to force their way out, or break their way in. I stumbled backward and screamed. End quote. I and Apo's am calling the cops, end quote. But the shaking only became more aggressive. The metal screeched and bent. I ran upstairs while dialing 911 with trembling hands. The dispatcher immediately heard the panic in my voice and instructed me to lock myself inside an upstairs room, arm myself with anything I could find, and stay hidden until officers arrived. I grabbed a baseball bat and barricaded myself inside my bedroom. I thought things couldn't end Apo's get any worse. I was wrong. A few moments later, I heard a deafening crash from downstairs. A door had just been kicked open. Then came the screaming. Pure madness. The voice echoed through the house. End quote. Where are you? End quote. End quote. I am Apo's. I'm gonna kill you. End quote. The words sent chills through every nerve in my body. Heavy footsteps thundered through the house. The man moved unnaturally fast. Within seconds, he was charging up the stairs. My heart felt like it was lodged in my throat. Then I heard him outside my bedroom. The doorknob twisted violently. The door shook. Boom, boom, boom. Each impact made the frame bend inward. I honestly thought he was about to break through. At that moment, I realized I had only one chance. The window. I pushed it open and climbed out onto the roof edge. The pounding suddenly stopped. I think he heard me. I didn't end Apo's. Wait to find out. I jumped. Branches and bushes broke my fall as I crashed into the yard below. The second I got to my feet, flashing red and blue lights appeared at the end of the driveway. A police car. I sprinted toward it. I was practically crying as I begged the officers to get inside. The officers locked me safely inside the patrol car while they entered the house with their weapons drawn. Those 5 minutes felt longer than my entire life. Finally, the front door opened. The officers emerged. Between them was a handcuffed man. As I walked him toward the police car, he turned and stared directly at me. I and Apo's. You never seen eyes like that before. There was no fear. No regret. Only pure hatred. The kind of hatred that makes you feel sick just looking at it. Even now, years later, I still see that stare in my nightmares. The entire experience changed me forever. I still go into basements from time to time, but never comfortably and never alone. The next story is One Eye and Oppos. Carried with me since childhood. Most of it exists only as fragments of memories. Blurry pieces of something that still doesn't in Oppos. Makes sense. When I was a kid, my brother and I spent almost all our time in the basement of our old house. It was our favorite place. My dad kept his hockey table, pool table, and video game systems down there. We would spend entire afternoons playing Super Nintendo while our parents were upstairs. Everything seemed normal. At first, then strange things started happening. The first incident occurred while my brother and I were racing each other in a video game. Out of nowhere, the laundry room door slammed shut. Hard. The sound echoed throughout the basement. We immediately called out for our mom. We assumed she and Oppos had been doing laundry, but there was no answer. The laundry room sat completely dark, completely empty. My brother and I looked at each other. Then we ran upstairs screaming. Our parents came downstairs to investigate, probably assuming we were overreacting. They searched the room. Nobody was there. Months passed. Then one night, I woke up thirsty and walked toward the kitchen. As I passed the basement door, I heard something that stopped me cold. The basement television had just turned on. Back then, those old box TVs made a loud clicking sound when they powered up. I knew exactly what I had heard. I called for my mom, my dad, my brother. Nothing. Everyone was asleep. I woke my parents and told them what happened. My father reluctantly went downstairs and turned off the TV. He insisted it was just an electrical glitch. But even as a child, I knew something felt wrong. Several other strange incidents happened over the following years. But the final one was by far the most terrifying. It happened only days before we moved away. Most of our belongings had already been packed and transported to the new house. The only things left downstairs were our television and video games. My brother and I were sitting on the couch playing as usual. Then something struck the back of my head. Hard. I turned around, annoyed, assuming my brother had thrown something at me. But he was sitting beside me, just as confused as I was. Then we both saw it. A small red rubber ball, bouncing across the floor behind us. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Neither of us had touched it. As the ball finally rolled to a stop, the boiler room door slowly began to close on its own. Neither of us said a word. We didn't in Oppos. Have to. The look on my brother and Oppos' face mirrored exactly what I was feeling. Absolute terror. And once again, we ran upstairs screaming. But this time, something about our parents and Oppos' reaction was different. They went downstairs. A few minutes later, they returned. Their faces had gone pale. Neither of them spoke. Neither of them explained anything. They simply told us to go to our rooms and stay there. Then, less than 30 minutes later, a police car arrived outside the house. And whatever my parents discovered in that basement that night, they never told us. For the rest of that night, my brother and I remained locked in our rooms. The police eventually left, but nobody explained why they had been called in the first place. Every time we asked our parents what happened downstairs, they refused to answer. Their response was always the same. End quote. You and Oppos. LL find out after we move, end quote. That answer only made everything more terrifying. Over the next few days, the atmosphere inside the house felt completely different. My parents seemed distracted and nervous. Conversations would suddenly stop whenever my brother or I entered the room. It was obvious they were hiding something. Finally, after we moved into our new house, my brother and I demanded answers. At first, our parents hesitated. Then my father reluctantly told us what had happened. When he and my mother went downstairs that day, they immediately noticed the boiler room door slowly moving. Not opening, closing, as if something on the other side was pulling it shut. My father walked over and grabbed the handle. At first, he thought the door was simply stuck. Then he tried harder. The door wouldn't and Oppos, budge. Something was holding it. He described the feeling as if another person was gripping the door from the inside and pulling back with equal force. My father pulled again. Nothing. Pulled harder. Still nothing. For several seconds, he found himself in a strange tug-of-war with something he couldn't and Oppos. TC. Then suddenly, the resistance vanished. The door swung open. The room was empty. No person, no animal, nothing. Just an old boiler, a washing machine, and shadows filling the corners. But according to my father, the most unsettling part wasn't what he saw. It was what he felt. He said that for a brief moment before the resistance disappeared, he had been absolutely certain that someone was standing on the other side of that door. Someone, or something, that shouldn't have been there. Concerned that an intruder might have been hiding somewhere in the basement, my parents called the police to search the property. The officers checked every room, every crawl space, every possible hiding spot. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No footprints. No explanation. Just an empty basement. An empty basement that had somehow terrified both of my parents. Years have passed since then. The house was eventually sold to another family. And as far as I know, nobody ever reported anything unusual afterward. I and never consider myself someone who believes in ghosts or the paranormal. I always look for logical explanations. But every once in a while, usually late at night, I find myself thinking back to that basement. The slamming doors. The television turning itself on. The red ball that struck me from behind. And whatever it was that seemed to be pulling on the boiler room door. Maybe there was a perfectly normal explanation. Maybe there wasn't. All I know is that even now, after all these years, those memories still leave me with the same uneasy feeling I had as a child. And if someone offered me the chance to spend one more night alone in that basement, I wouldn't do it.